We had great news in the fight to get boys out of girls' sports this week, in addition to President Trump winning, which is going to really, really help. But there was a massive legal ruling on a story that we've been watching and following very closely here at the MK Show since we were a baby, since we launched back in September of 2020. So as you know, I live in Connecticut now, and in September 2020, I still lived in New York, but we were moving here. And this story was making national news. There were runners, young female runners in the public schools in Connecticut who had been saddled with boys running against them in track and field. And these brave young women stood up to say, this is not fair. They're taking our medals, our first place finishes. They're taking our scholarships, and we can't win against them. This is totally unfair. And they ultimately filed a lawsuit with the help of Alliance Defending Freedom. Love ADF. If you want to give money to support a group, that's a great one. And they bumped right into this absolute douchebag of a judge. This guy is a jerk. He's on the U.S. District Court in Connecticut, and his name is Judge Robert Chadney, Chadgny, a Bill Clinton appointee. Now, in the spring of 2021, we had on the girls, and they told us firsthand why they were suing, and it's for all the reasons I just discussed. And then their lawsuit moved through the process. They came back on in 2023. Their lawsuit at that point had been dismissed by this jerk, and they were seeking an appeal with the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which is a federal court of appeals right underneath the U.S. Supreme Court. You know, they're all across the nation, and that's the last stop before you get to the U.S. Supreme Court. And they outlined some of the reasons why.
Hold up. Here's what no one's telling you. This judge has dismissed over 80% of similar cases in just 5 years. But it gets worse. He wasn't just biased, he tried to rig the entire debate. Hell no. When a judge bans the term biological male in court, that's not justice. That's activism from the bench.
Again, that they were involved in this lawsuit to begin with. We chose a soundbite from that episode because by that point we had video and you might want to see them. It's episode 567, and here are Chelsea Mitchell and Alana Smith.
So my sophomore year, actually, Terry raced on the boys' team in the indoor season, and then in the outdoor season switched to the girls' team. Terry was blowing us girls out of the water. I mean, I remember at the state open championship, and Terry won by like over half a second to the second biological male, and then me and the other female finishers were after them. But the both of them just blew us out of the water consistently.
Yeah, it was so frustrating because I used to spend hours a day at track practice just to shave off, tenths of a second, hundredths of a second. Track is a sport where just like a little bit of time off is huge. And it was just so frustrating to line up and just feel like I was racing for second place. And even if I was trying my hardest, I knew that I wasn't going to get the top spot. And then just to know that me and the other girls we didn't have a level playing field.
This is so annoying. They had to race against these boys posing as girls because it's the Connecticut state policy. Connecticut, along with almost 24 states, have a policy that requires you to be able to race in the sport and in the league that aligns with your gender identity as opposed to biological sex, which is a blatant violation of Title IX. It is a violation of girls' equal protection rights. All of this is going to get reversed. It's going to get reversed thanks to Trump and thanks to the courts and thanks to this U.S. Supreme Court. So these girls filed a lawsuit trying to say all of that. And this jerk judge rejected the lawsuit, threw it out. And let me just give you a little color about this guy's ruling, which came down in April of 2021, right around the time when they first came on the show. Alliance Defending Freedom came out and said that this judge would not allow them, as the lawyers for these two girls, to refer to the biological boys as biological boys. The judge required them to call the biological boys females, which the lawyers...
Let's keep it real. This isn't just about sports anymore. The data is clear. Post-puberty biological advantages create a 10 to 12% performance gap in track events. Think about that. We're telling young women their reality doesn't matter because it's needlessly provocative. Come on. This is exactly why we need facts, not feelings, driving conversations about fairness.
Made the point that obscures the entire issue that has brought us into court here, Your Honor. The whole question is, should biological boys be allowed to play in girls' sports? And here are all the reasons why they shouldn't. It completely muddies the waters to say, should females be allowed to compete against females in girls' sports? And this is something we've been talking about on this show for a long time, as you know, which is they try to control the language to already win the argument. If you cede the language, you've already lost the argument, especially on this issue. And therefore, you must fight over the language, including pronouns, even if it makes you feel impolite. If you don't, you're hashtag part of the problem. And this judge was hashtag part of the problem. He dismissed their case. So they appealed up to the Second Circuit. And when you first appeal, you get a 3-judge panel from the Court of Appeals. That panel ruled against the girls again. But the girls were not done. And Alliance Defending Freedom was not done. They appealed to the Second Circuit en banc, which means the entire Second Circuit, all of the judges who otherwise would make up random 3-judge panels, all of them hear the case and they agreed to take it. And guess what happened? They reversed. They won. The girls won in front of the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which is huge. And then it went back down, as it must, to this Judge Chadney, the guy who had originally dismissed the lawsuit. I mean, I just want you to know this is so egregious. This wasn't, not that it makes a difference whether the boys are on testosterone suppressing hormones. It doesn't make a difference. These boys had been through male puberty. If you're listening to us, go look at our youtube.com/Megyn Kelly. You will see these are boys who have been through boy puberty. They are very well developed. They look like boys. They're strong like boys. Their legs, their muscles, they're boys. And listen to this extra bit.
And here's where it gets political. Under Trump, the Department of Education backed these girls, saying Connecticut's policy violated Title IX. But when Biden took office, that support disappeared overnight. This case highlights just how much these policies depend on who's in power. It's a stark reminder that elections have consequences.
Of color from one of the girls who was forced to race against them. Listen. Were there any requirements, in your state that you know of, that they reduce their testosterone, that they do something to reduce the biological advantage, as if we could get rid of all of them, but at least on the testosterone front, Chelsea?
No, the CISC policy was pretty much just if you identify as a girl, then you can run on the girls' team. There was no policy that you had to lower testosterone or anything.
So these two boys were racing as boys in the previous season, the year before, and had done nothing. Again, not that it would make the difference, but I guess you could make the case it would be better than running with your full testosterone and full male advantage as they were. And the Connecticut policy is that's fine. You're good. The girls need to compete against that. That's fair. So race after race, these girls saw just the glorious joy of winning slip away from them as an impossibility as they looked down at the start and saw two boys getting ready to win, though they gave it their all. So it goes back to this judge. And what happened last week was, reading here from Just the News, a chastened Judge Chadney switched his stance and ruled that the amended complaint did plausibly allege disparate treatment under the law based on the female athlete's sex, saying the defendants are indeed potentially liable for discrimination under Title IX, and that the plaintiffs may be indeed able to recover damages, including attorney's fees and costs, depending on what happens in the course of discovery. Here, listen to this. Unlike in 2021, the judge's ruling is replete with references to biological sex. He even twice used the phrase biological males, which years earlier he had deemed needlessly provocative. In this case, how about that? The girls are asking for these nominal damages. They're not looking to get rich off of this. They just want this policy changed and declared unlawful. And they also want more than 40 state and local race track records revised, removing the names of the two transgender athletes from their winning places and replacing them with the names of the female athletes who also competed but did not win. It's justice. This judge was forced. He's been brought to heel by the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. It's a very liberal court, everybody. This is like the Ninth Circuit almost, that said you cannot do this. This is huge. And this judge was brought to heel to acknowledge there is such a thing as a biological male, and that is the language you must use in weighing the relative rights in this situation. So F you, Connecticut, and F you, Judge Chadney, who only was forced to come around to reason. And F you to these boys who tried to run as girls and they knew it was unfair. And to the school that didn't create an open category and say, run there. There's two of you, you can run against each other. This is just so wrong on every level. And here's another piece of it that you need to know. This case got started under the Trump administration, number one, the first Trump administration. And the Department of Education was on the side of the girls and filed a brief through the DOJ. The Department of Education and the DOJ were on the side of the girls and filed in support of the girls, saying, you have violated Title IX, Connecticut. This is not okay. And then we had a switch in administrations. Biden came in, Miguel Cardona came in, and they withdrew all of the government support. The DOJ was out, the DOE was out, and they actually took the other side of this issue. So these girls were left alone with, God bless, Alliance Defending Freedom to pursue this case in court, which they did. But as you can see, it was an uphill battle, and I'm sure it was an expensive battle. Another reason to donate to Alliance Defending Freedom. And now, I mean, even before Trump gets back in office, but now they've won. They haven't won the whole case. They now have to, they get a trial now and they get to make their case. And that's all they're entitled to. And that's great. They weren't kicked out just based on the papers by this judge saying, hey, Connecticut law says it's too bad. You have to suck it up. So now they get to go forward. And now, thanks to Trump coming back in office, he will make the necessary revisions to Biden's Title IX changes. He'll reverse them. And he will send his DOJ and his Department of Education in to support the girls like these who need help against woke schools, systems, states, and judges who want to tell them referring to these kids as biological males is needlessly provocative and you must lose just based on language alone. This is great. This is all going our way. This is before Trump gets in. We got a big ruling out of the Second Circuit back down to this judge who's been humbled and hobbled. And that's what's going to happen to all of you judges who continue to rule the wrong way. And you know what's even more beautiful? Will be when one of these left-wing courts like the Ninth Circuit or what have you rules the other way and it goes up to the Supreme Court. Oh, I hope it goes up to the Supreme Court because this court will rule in our favor.
Here's the bottom line. This victory shows that standing up for fairness works, even when the odds are stacked against you. But it also reminds us how much work there's still to do. If this case fired you up as much as it did me, smash that subscribe button because we're not done exposing these critical issues. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this ruling goes far enough, or is there more work to be done? Stay curious, stay critical, and I'll catch you in the next one.